achieved.
Holy cow, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Studio Day, Heifer Day Quarantine on a Sunday. Sorry I forgot about you guys yesterday. It was a really busy day. So much going on. And by so much, I mean I played Call of Duty for like 12 hours. So there's that. Jeffrey Time is my Activision name. If you have the game, add me. Let's get after it. Today, what are we going to do? Today, what I wanted to do, and I forgot to properly prepare for this, so I'm going to have to browse the internet while I talk to you guys. But today, what I want to talk about is a few different things, and one of them is the way that the Cowboys had a big win this offseason that I haven't really talked about. I have on radio a little bit if you listen to the G-Bag Nation every day, but I haven't really talked about it on a video here for you guys. And so there's a lot of guys that I obviously follow when it comes to the NFL and the draft, but there's few guys that I really, this is going to sound either rude or cocky. There's not a ton of guys that I really respect because I think there's a lot more guys faking it than there is guys that really are doing the work and giving you their original content. But one of the guys that I really do respect is my buddy Thor Nystrom from Roto World. He ranks, is it 500 or 600 players every year? And the dude does the work. I forget the name of the award that he won this year. Something about being the best sports writer ever, pretty much. But so every year he ranks, everybody does their draft grades, or a lot of people do draft grades. But after that, he likes to take it a step further. And his step further is to rank every team's undrafted free agency haul. Because if you've ranked and seen enough players, you can do that. And he's ranked and seen enough players that he can do that. So let me show you here, as I've been doing this while talking to you. Let me show you here what we have for you. And here's his little charty chart, right? Now, what does this chart say? This chart is about undrafted free agency. So after the draft is over and the Cowboys and every other team are scrambling to get to the phone and, oh, my God, who we got? How many guys are left on the board? Go get our guys that are left on the board. And the Cowboys, I believe, I was told that there was like 7 guys still on their draft board that they managed to sign an undrafted free agency. So what Thor does, he says, since an average of 3 undrafted free agents make an active roster and 5 more hang on the practice squad, so on average 8 UDFAs, could end up hanging around your team. What he did is he based 90% of his team's rankings on the average of its top 5 UDFA signings. Yeah, CeeDee, you excited about that? All right. CeeDee's excited about that. So the team ranking their top 5 UDFA signings, the other 10% is the sum of the full class score or their overall class quality. So the Dallas Cowboys, as you can see here, if that's legible for you, are number 1 across the board there for their total haul in undrafted free agency, for their top 5 guys, their average, everything. So not only did they have, in my mind, and I think in most people's minds, an incredible draft, but then as soon as it was over, they killed it again. And if you want to look at the offseason as a whole, I think most people would look at their free agency haul as well and say, while not spectacular and nothing that really blows your doors off, that they did a really nice job for a team that had a great roster a year ago, and I know they came up short and failed miserably to end up with an 8-8 record, but they've done a really nice job with some big-time key losses of filling that roster back out. So shout out to my buddy Thor Nystrom. If you want to follow him on Twitter, it is at ThorKU, THORKU, and he works at Roto World, and he does great work, and so I appreciate it. Want to shout him out today. And oh no, I accidentally deleted the wrong thing. I may leave this picture up the entire time because I have to figure out how to put my Jeffrey Time border back. You guys want to see what I just did? Guys, it ain't that serious. CeeDee wants to play, and the old dog is like, I don't want to play with you. And he's like, come on. And she's like, no, leave me alone. And he's like, come on. And that's what my dogs do all day. So I just accidentally deleted the entire border of my YouTube page. You want to see what it looks like right now? That's what I just did. I'm going to have to figure out how to undo that at some point. You guys want to watch me try to figure it out? Let me see. Oh, man. It's not good. It's not good, guys. I hope it's in this folder. Is it this? Please be that. Please be the right thing. Okay. Woo. Woo. Oh, boy. That could have been bad. Oh, I would have had to call my buddy Will and said, hey, man, I destroyed all the work you did for me. Please save my life. Okay, so what else? Hey, remember to subscribe to the YouTube page, youtube.com/Jeff Kavanaugh, and leave in the comments what you want to talk about tomorrow. That's where I get a lot of my stuff from, is whatever you guys want to talk about. So the next thing I want to talk about is kind of a follow-up to my last video, which was about Tony Pollard and how much more involved could he be this year. And I want to see Tony Pollard get at least 10 touches a game, 10 to 12, something like that. So if that's the case, he's got to get, if he plays in all 16, I'm saying at least 160 touches, which that may be ambitious, but that is what I'd like to see from the Cowboys offense. And part of the reason for that is something we talked about last year while the season was going on. Tony Pollard, when he gets the ball, you know, he averaged 5.3 yards a carry last year on over 80 carries because the dude finds ways to stay up when most people go down. Like, we picture a lot of running backs as guys where you run guys over and keep running, and it's like, yes, that's how you break tackles. But he's sort of the new breed of running back, which the way you make him miss tackles is with acceleration and with great balance and with throwing guys off balance where they can't make a sure tackle on you, and that's what he was so great at last year. So the Tony Pollard hype train, it's in full effect. And this is from my buddy John Owning, at John Owning on Twitter. Public PSA that among running backs with at least 60 carries, Tony Pollard finished third in yards per attempt. That was 5.3. First in yards after contact per attempt, 4.5 yards per carry after contact. And first in elusive rating with Pro Football Focus. And that's just based on number of avoided tackles, guys that you make miss when you don't go down, how often you do that. And he did it quite often. So Tony Pollard hype train's got to get going. Now, that leads us to the next question, which I think I have it here. Yes. Edward said, you want Pollard to have 10 touches a game when an offense averages around 75 a game. So what does your breakdown look like? Zeke 30, Pollard 10, Cooper 15, Gallup 10, CeeDee 10. That's 75. What about Dak runs? What about tight end? Because we're going to throw to tight end. Well, I didn't plan this ahead of time because if you guys have figured me out yet, you've figured out that I am not a planner and I am not a script reader. I prefer to wing my content. Like, I'll know which questions I'm going to answer, but I don't really like script out the answers or plan it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up the Cowboys stats from a year ago, and let's see. So last year, your running backs had 301 carries for Zeke, 86 carries for Pollard. So what if Zeke carries it 250 times? If I gave 51 carries to Pollard, now I'm at 137. And so now I'm already cooking. Just give it to Zeke 150 times. 250 times. Give it to, now you guys know, I'd be down to give Pollard more than that. But I don't think it's unreasonable to say, hey, the guy who got almost a full yard more per carry, we got to see, like, how real is that? Is that just, they're in different situations and, he can't, I don't want to give Tony Pollard the ball 25 times a game running up the middle. I don't want to do that. I get it. Zeke's built for that life, but I also don't want that life to be part of my football team's offense. So let's say Zeke, 250 carries. That could give Pollard with 50 more there, about 140 carries, and you're already basically there. So now Pollard had 15 catches last year. So if I put him at 136 catches or 136 runs and 15 catches, I'm already at 150. Now I throw it to him 10 more times, 160. So yeah, Tony Pollard, 150, 160 touches is very doable with just transferring touches from Zeke. That's it. And as to like what happens to CeeDee Lamb and what happens to these other guys' touches, well, let's go through the receivers real quick. So targets that are already available, Randall Cobb was targeted 83 times last year. So, hey, there's 83 for CeeDee Lamb. Cool. Jason Witten was targeted 83 times last year. Jarwin was targeted 40 times. So 83 targets that went to a tight end. Let's just say half of those go to Jarwin. And now we're at 82. For Jarwin, I got you over 80 targets. I still got 40 to go around left over from Witten, 43 of them actually, which can be passed around between CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, Tony Pollard. Tavon Austin had 24 targets last year. For the moment, those are available. So, like, the touches are there. Touches are there for this offense to see CeeDee Lamb have 100 targets, to see Tony Pollard have 150, 160 touches, Blake Jarwin to have 80 to 100 touches. They're there. Nothing to worry about. You can make all that happen easily. Let me see here. What else did I put in the little scroll thing? Oh, the Tyrone Crawford thing. I had a guy ask me about Tyrone Crawford. Bradley Lennon. He said, would it make sense to shed the $8 million owed to Tyrone Crawford and use that to go towards a better pass rusher like Everson Griffin or Jadeveon Clowney? I think no. If you wanted Griffin or Clowney, and I do because I'm selfish, like, yeah, I want Larry Warford to come play left guard, and I want Jadeveon Clowney to come play opposite Tank Lawrence. I want all those things. Probably not realistic, but I do want all those things. I'm not cutting Tyrone Crawford to do it. As Brian Broaddus talks about on our radio show, Tank Lawrence missed Tyrone Crawford last year. He missed having an interior guy that guys had to actually deal with. The defensive tackle position for the Cowboys wasn't good enough last year, and it led to both Robert Quinn and Tank Lawrence being double-teamed a ton. I believe both of them ended up in the top 10 in the league and being double-teamed because your interior guys, nobody had to worry about. So Tyrone Crawford being back is big. And this team, and I know part of this is if you win, you get to say you had great leadership, and if you lose, you get to say you have terrible leadership. But when you talk to people about last year's Cowboys, that defense was lost. I mean, lost. You had guys not doing their job, not just filling their gaps, not doing their responsibilities. And, you know, when you ask around, I think part of that goes to who were the leaders on the defense last year. Whoever you think they were, they failed. Tyrone Crawford wasn't there. He is undoubtedly the leader of that defensive line group. Sean Lee. It's hard when you're not a starter. They've needed young guys to take over the leadership roles, and from what I understand, they've failed in that regard. So Tyrone Crawford, this team needs Tyrone Crawford. Tyrone Crawford, the player, helps, and Tyrone Crawford, the player or the person, might help even more than that. So, no, I wouldn't try to use Tyrone Crawford's money to go find another player. I want him in the room. I want him on the Cowboys. They need him. Let me see here. Christian, question for tomorrow. Jerry Jones is a marketing genius. Since there's no sports being played, do you think Jerry isn't doing Dak's contract in order to keep the Cowboys in the headlines? I mean, I think there's a chance, but I remember he said before last year that the deal was imminent and they never got it done. And now they still haven't gotten it done a year later. So if that's your plan, I hate your plan. And I get that that's worked and that he's a marketing genius. I get that. But don't do that. Don't play with your quarterback like that. Get the deal done and move on with your day. Although they may not get the deal done. I've said it before on here. It looks like they're very comfortable with him playing on the tag, and they'll figure it out later. If they, if each camp has a hard line they've drawn in the sand, that might be where we are. With so much coming out, this is Christian, with so much coming out about how poor things were with the last coaching staff, what position or player do you think will benefit the most from the new staff and got an upgrade? Well, the linebackers weren't good last year. Were they the worst thing? Maybe. The whole defense is going to benefit, though. The fact that you had so many things were broken. Everything Chris Richard was supposed to be doing was broken. Everything that Ben Bloom, the linebacker coach, was supposed to be doing was broken. Keith O'Quinn's special teams were broken. It was all so broken. So I think the biggest benefit, and Timothy Prince just said, talk about special teams tomorrow. That'll be the biggest turnaround. And special teams are easy to overlook as long as you're just average at them. But when you're as atrocious as the Cowboys were, when you're bad at punting, kicking off and covering kickoffs, covering punts, when you're bad at returning, when you're bad at every phase of special teams, it can add up to really hurt you. And that happened to the Cowboys, which is the first time I think I've ever cared about special teams, is when you have a bad kicker and you pretend it's fine for over half a season, when your punter can't get his job done, when your return game is awful. Like, everything that they did on special teams was terrible. That'll be the biggest difference, is they reassigned a guy who was basically a grad assistant in charge of special teams, and they brought in a guy who's been doing this forever, in Bones Fossil. So special teams will be the biggest thing that changes. All right, make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Jeff Kavanaugh, and make sure you leave in the comments what you want to talk about tomorrow, and I will take care of you guys. All right, love you. See you tomorrow.